Every kid fantasizes about being a superhero. We idolize all the superheroes that we know, from Superman to Batman to even Spider-Man. But what differentiates these people from average people? That is superpowers. Superpowers are the unique abilities that each of these superheroes have that changes them and allows them to do what most people cannot. And the superpower we're going to talk about today comes from the iconic Aquaman series. The superpower that he has is the ability to exist underwater. And we're going to look at that from a chemical, physical, and biological standpoint and diagnose how he's able to do this. Now, everybody knows humans cannot breathe underwater, and Aquaman is part human. So how is it that he's able to exist underwater? In order to understand this, we need to understand the properties of chemical reactions. And that is that the reactants and the products do not have the same chemical composition. And what I mean by this is, let's take glucose for example. Glucose is made up of carbon, hydrogen, oxygen atoms all put together in a chemical reaction to form glucose. However, because of the intermolecular bonds and the chemical bonds that are formed between the three individual elements, the chemical composition of glucose differs from the three that make it up. So if we convert this to H2O, for example, that's made of hydrogen and oxygen atoms. Now, humans need O2 or oxygen gas in order to be able to breathe. In water, when the oxygen and the hydrogen mix together, that forms liquid water. Not oxygen, not hydrogen, but liquid water. So therefore, when humans go underwater, they're not able to use this H2O because it's not oxygen gas. However, Aquaman has a portion of his body is made of gills, just like fish have. And these gills are able to extract the O2 molecules inside of the water. And then he uses those O2 molecules to make his lungs function. And from there, he's able to circulate his blood and exist underwater.
If we use this diagram, you can see how the gills of fish and of Aquaman essentially work. Water enters their body through their oral cavities and flows towards the arc of the fish's gills. Within the gill arches are blood vessels that help transport blood throughout the gills of the fish and eventually into the blood circulation of the fish itself. When the water hits the gill filaments, which are connected to the gill arc, the filaments diffuse oxygen gas, or O2, from the water and add it to the bloodstream in the capillaries of the fish lamella. From there, oxygen-rich blood flows through the capillaries out through the blood vessels and circulate through the fish's body to allow it to breathe and exist underwater. Once the blood has nearly exhausted its oxygen content, the blood recirculates back to the gill capillaries in order for more oxygen that was diffused from the water to be added back into the blood. And the process then continues. This is how Aquaman effectively breathes underwater.
In the human ventilation system, the organ utilized for humans to extract oxygen is the lungs. However, one problem with this is that the lungs do not actually have enough surface area to extract water from oxygen. Instead, superhumans or superheroes like Aquaman have developed the adaptation of the organ's gills. And organs are a respiratory organ in which aquamarine life use to extract oxygen from dissolved oxygen from water. Another adaptation that they develop is the use of fins. And what fins do is they allow the aquamarine life to move efficiently from one distance to another, and which is a productive swimming method. And probably one of the most important is the adipose eyelid. And what this is a transparent layer that goes above the eye itself, which allows for Aquaman's vision not to be obscured while he is traveling underwater. And humans do not have this, however. So most normal humans, instead, when they go swimming, they use goggles in order to travel up underwater and keep their original vision.
As Stephen alluded to, fish and Aquaman have special structures known as fins, which help them move through the water efficiently. Fins are generally muscles with small pieces of cartilage that push the fish through the water sideways, backwards, and forwards. The use of fins also allow for the fish to flow easier because they can efficiently move through the water, reducing the time that they stay stationary, which can lead to them floating to the surface or sinking to the ground floor. Fins give the fish access and control to the 6 degrees of freedom, which means their body is free to move forwards, backwards, up, down, left, and right. Combined with rotation about 3 perpendicular axes, often termed pitch, yaw, and roll, this gives Aquaman full control of his body underwater.
So, from a physics standpoint, Aquaman can be underwater because of the pressure in a fluid, like the lake. It also increases as the depth increases. Archimedes' principle states that any body in a fluid will also experience a buoyant force. This force, though, however, is equal to the weight of the volume of the fluid, which is the lake. This lake is displaced, thus why Aquaman does not float. Now, if you also think about why he's able to move at a rapid speed, it's because of the low dynamic viscosity, which is 8.94 times 10 to the negative 4. This is also for Aquaman to be able to move. This also becomes a problem with the friction drag force. The friction drag force, however, is not as important as the pressure drag force. This is because of the friction force, which drags proportional to the surface area of Aquaman. This is why the amount of water which becomes displaced must be moved in more of a higher area, which must be proportional to the volume. As the size increases, the volume of the surface area also increases.
So to conclude, being a superhero is not that easy. Aquamarine superheroes such as Aquaman have to endure a number of factors, and that's why they rely on utilizing their biological makeup, chemical properties, and physiological conditions of that environment. When Aquaman survives in water, he uses all of these aspects in order to prosper and be the superhero that he is. And that's why it's not that easy for humans like you and me to do the same as he does. But why not find out?